This is a really important moment in Canada's history.
So many of rights and liberties, it appears, have been taken away, trying to combat, COVID-19.
The 4 most important words you need to know right now are, I do not consent.
Will your government provide an actual card or proof of vaccination?
The answer is no. We aren't going to do it. We aren't going to have a split society.
Up until recently, we Canadians in Ontario felt confident that a 2-tiered society and vax passport system would not even be a thing here at home. Well, in July of 2021, our friend and Premier, Doug Ford, promised us.
I just don't believe in forcing anyone to get a vaccination that doesn't want it.
If your Premier mandates that everyone in your local restaurant or gym or other non-essential locations must be fully vaccinated and show proof, we'll pay for the development and rollout of that program.
Then immediately following our Prime Minister Justin Trudeau dangling $1 billion to help roll out the passports, well, our friend, old Dougie, rolled over and in a very un-Canadian way went back on his word.
All the provinces, all the premiers have requested a national vaccine passport. It's a lot easier. Standardize the system.
Another bought and paid for politician who shows little respect for the 1960 Canadian Bill of Rights and the 1982 Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Clearly a man of little substance, zero conviction, and no longer fit for office.
Blah, 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 blah. Build back better.
How we build back better? How to build back better.
Now, in some areas of society, we independent journalists are already considered second-class citizens. But now, thanks to this medical ID system being rolled out by the federal and the provincial government, more Canadians are facing discrimination, being ousted, shunned, and excluded from everyday activity.
We're being arrested for participating in skating.
Recently in Ripley, Ontario, at a rec centre, a woman was forcibly arrested by police in front of her children. The rec centre manager called the cops after the woman didn't show her vaccine status. The police charged her under the Trespass Act.
Why are you arresting her? We are participating in a public activity. It is not trespassing. We are within our rights.
This is Canada. This is not Nazi Germany. It is now. Yeah, you were damn right it is.
Getting a vaccine is a choice we should all make with our right to informed consent.
What's his name?
With current protection from both the Federal and Provincial Privacy Commission, your immunisation information along with other medical history is private. You have no legal obligation to share your health information with any employee or any business in exchange for service.
We'll be closely aligned with other provinces that have introduced similar policies while ensuring we design and implement a policy that makes sense for Ontario. These measures will be in place as of September 22nd.
You guys pick up on that? It's a policy, not a law. The government knows that when it comes to liability mandating vaccines, they really have no legal leg to stand on. The only way to achieve their goal of pushing vaccines on the people is to rely on the private sector to policy outside the law, under threat of fines, just like their customers who are under duress now required to provide papers. Businesses are being coerced to act as government medical enforcement agents, pitting otherwise well-meaning workers against the privacy-loving members of the public. As companies in their abundant compliance peddle this policy, they neglect to acknowledge human rights, the Healthcare Consent Act, the Immunization Act, the Genetic Non-Discrimination Act, and the Nuremberg Code. These are all in place to protect civil liberties in Canada. What's disappointing to me as a Canadian is that so many big-name brands are quite happy to discriminate. Shame on your name. Who do you think supported your restaurant over the last 18 months? The great Canadian institution of Tim Hortons? Many loyal customers no longer welcome in your coffee shops. Your name is now mud to me, just like your coffee.
You suck!
Get lost, Boston Pizza. Go away, Swiss Chalet. It now seems like a mobster who's running Red Lobster. Then there's Xanadu Health Club just outside Windsor. This is my gym. Look, there's my membership card right there. A member in good standing. Gyms like this, some of the other big names and other local businesses are choosing to enforce these policies.
It's a great day. Good life. Tim speaking. How may I help you?
Hi there. I'm just wondering if you guys are enforcing vaccine passports.
Yes, we are.
And this is Good Life in Tecumseh?
Yes, this is the Tecumseh and Manning Good Life.
Thank you for calling Planet Fitness. This is Corey. How can I help you?
Corey, I just wondering if Planet Fitness is enforcing the vaccine passports.
Yes, we are.
So I'm at Xanadu Health Club Limited. I delivered a letter to one of the Xanadu managers, Kirsty Kipp.
The illegal vaccine passport that you guys are supporting, it's not going to be tolerated. But they are asking for vaccine passports here as people come in, which that's discrimination.
Okay.
And that's why I'm delivering this letter here today to Kirsty Kipp. Is that Kirsty Kipp?
Yes.
My rights and have been violated, and I've been discriminated against because of my not wanting to show my vaccine status. Okay.
Yeah. No problem.
you would ask me to cancel my membership, which I refuse to do.
Or place it on a complimentary hold
No, I'm
until
not doing
December
that either.
31st.
I want to work out.
Yep, but I understand
Yeah.
these mandates come down from the Ontario government, not
Fair
from
enough.
us, as do mask mandates,
You don't have
right?
to shout at me.
It's very difficult to speak through this, but I know you have me on camera. Hi. Thank you so much.
All right.
You have a great day, James.
Thank you.
I'll be back in the workout shortly.
No, you won't. Okay, thank you. Next time the police won't be called, okay? The mandate as mentioned comes down from the Ontario government,
So you
not
will
us.
call the police?
You will
Okay.
call the police.
There we go. I just want to work out. Today is back and bicep day. And they think that they're doing the right thing by turfing me off the property?
Don't get it twisted. I'm not
This was not me serving her with a notice of liability. It was simply a letter informing Xanadu of how they're violating my rights as a paying member in good standing. The letter also explains that it's illegal for staff members to be acting as medical enforcement agents for the government. I'm not too sure the manager was happy to see me. She even filed a police report on me for dropping off a document. I received a bizarre phone call from Constable Weir of the Ontario Provincial Police.
Badge number is 11275.
Yeah.
Just calling you to make you aware that unless you want to show this vaccine passport or proof of vaccination, that your patronage at Xanadu Health Club at this time is not welcome.
Oh no, I'm fully aware of that. She said that to me on camera, and it's really disappointing because I've been a very loyal customer to them.
They have their own rules in there. This is a provincially mandated rule that they have to enforce.
And that's exactly what I'm challenging, sir. Ontario has put in all these acts and these regulations and that, but I also have human rights, and I'm protected by them. So we're going to put this to the courts to have them figure it out. Because I do not want to live in a country where I'm being told I have to show proof of any type of medical procedure in exchange for being able to use gym equipment. It's not going to happen, not while I'm a citizen of this fine country. I'm not going to be going there looking for trouble at the gym. You need to understand that about me. That's not my modus operandi, okay? What I will be doing though is I will be mobilizing and I will be trying to be a voice and help people who think the same to have more courage to push back on what the government is trying to impose on its citizens right now, because to me it's unjust, and you know, a lot of people are too scared to speak up against this, but I'm not.
Yeah, no problem, sir. I appreciate your time.
Good luck out there, and hopefully one day you guys are on the right side of history.
Big name businesses whose profit margins are already tanking, well, they need to know that they can say no to this type of segregation.
They can push back.
They can push back.
Does the Reopening Ontario Act give the government and the businesses that authority?
Get a lot of calls from people about the vaccine passport. You know, there's an argument that there's not laws in place. Like, there has to be an actual law in place. Laws are things that have passed through, and you know, they go through, you know, the process, and then following the process, it's enacted, it becomes a law. So I think that's part of the frustration.
One to not shy away from this situation, this is George Kyriazakos. He heads up GK Law, a general practice firm with offices in both Windsor, Ontario and across the river in Detroit, USA. His team deal with cross-border litigation, civil and corporate resolution, mediation, as well as real estate, family and criminal law.
A lot of Canadians right now being denied service because they refuse to show medical ID. As a lawyer in town, what are you hearing on the street or in the industry?
Everything is so new, so you don't have a lot of historical case law to get some consistency. Sometimes what it takes is people stepping up and setting that precedent on either side, you know, to set a trend. That's how laws are made. The common thing that you're going to hear from these small businesses is that, you know, if you want to pay my fines, go ahead. They feel threatened. Some of them have liquor licenses. So, I think the best thing to do is just to get the conversation out there. It's great to protest, but you got to do it in a proper way, where there is a way you can do it where it's peaceful, your voice is being heard, and you're not violating any laws.
Aside from filing a human rights complaint, which is free, another way Canadians can direct their displeasure towards a business discriminating and denying service is to serve their business or an individual member of their team with a notice of liability. After judgment, when it comes to collection, the courts have been known to put liens on property and garnish wages.
Arresting people against the law when they said they weren't going to enforce the illegal passport.
I think in this aspect, it's no different than any other type of litigation or law. It's a game of poker sometimes, right? And sometimes, you take risks, but you want to take risks that are calculated. It's always easier to try to resolve something than without the necessity of going to litigation. So by serving that or filing a complaint, it sort of sets the tone. Once your materials are filed, they'll set up for a settlement conference to try to see if a meeting of the minds, if you will, to see what kind of resolution can occur. At the same time, they've got enactments that they have to follow, so they're going to present that side. People in your position are going to present the side that, look,
it's called the Charter of Rights and Freedoms.
Yeah, I should have a right to first of all, my privacy, the idea of informed consent. Well, now, if I can relate this to the vaccine, there is no informed consent.
Because once you consent, you have put the liability on yourself, and you have no legal recourse once you've consented. Do you understand that? I do not consent are the 4 words you need to know. I do not consent.
You're just essentially telling everybody that they have to get a vaccine without any regard to, health, allergic reactions. There's different situations for different folks.
I'm Jody Ledgerwood. I'm part of the Rise Up Durham crew. So many of us don't know our rights. The schools don't teach our rights anymore. So we are running scared every time the government says, here's a new mandate. Well, the truth of the matter is a mandate is not law. A mandate is a suggestion or a recommendation that you must consent to. Without your consent, it means nothing, because your Canadian Bill of Rights cannot be overrun by any policy. You cannot policy outside the law. You cannot. Therefore, if you are a small business right now trying to mandate and policy vaccines for your employees or your customers, I tell you, stop it. You can be brought up on criminal code charges. We also have a thing called the Human Rights Code. We do not discriminate for any reason. These vaccine policies people are putting into play discriminate and segregate and make us a two-tiered society. That is not the Canada I believe in. There are about 10 different privacy acts in Canada that protect you from sharing your health information with anybody. You do not have to do it. It is against the law for anybody to even ask you to do it. Fight back. Show your children what it means to stand in your square and stand up for yourself.
We live in what's called a democracy, meaning we have freedom. We have rights that are protected. It's a deep-rooted issue, and that's why you're seeing some of these countries, in my opinion, eliminate these vaccine passports.
On September 12th in the UK, after massive non-compliance from both the public and businesses, Health Secretary Sajid Javid scrapped the vaccine passport system in that country. It's a huge win for democracy in the UK.
I mean, I've never liked the idea of saying to people, you must show your papers or something to do what is just an everyday activity. And whilst we should keep it in reserve as a potential option, I'm pleased to say that we will not be going ahead with plans for vaccine passports.
Along with the UK, Norway and Sweden, 2 other countries to abandon this divisive track and trace medical ID system. Meanwhile, back in Canada, we're quickly becoming the world capital of forcible confinement. The tyrannical Trudeau government is doubling down on restrictions for a large sector of its population.
But by the end of November, if you're 12 or older and want to fly or take the train, you'll have to be fully vaccinated.
It's quite amusing that the Deputy PM's surname is Freeland, because Canada is definitely not a free land at the moment.
Members of the public service who are not fully vaccinated or do not disclose their vaccination status by October 29th will be placed on administrative leave without pay.
We are Canadians, we are in a free world. It's freedom of choice. It's not mandated. We are not communists. We will not become that.
Like many communities across Canada, thousands of citizens and hundreds of businesses are holding the line against vaccine passports.
We're in this together, and what they're doing is not okay, and it goes against our rights as humans.
Weathering the storm and standing steadfast, there is hope in Windsor, Ontario. Represented locally by Crystal Bernauer, the Windsor Essex Citizens and Businesses Against Discrimination.
And we are not fighting for vax, non-vax, we're just fighting for our freedom of rights. And the group has come together really to just support one another for everything that we're going through right now, because the division is actually causing more of an issue in our society right now than the virus itself.
The group, which can be found on Facebook and Telegram, has attracted about 13,000 members thus far. As a champion of medical privacy and an advocate for freedom, Crystal also attended a frontline workers' peaceful protest in Windsor recently.
I think right now the businesses are barely hanging on because of all the lockdowns that they've already endured. So at this point, we as a community have an obligation to help these small businesses and not protest against them, but whatever comes next is that we find a way to make it through so that they can make it through too.
Now we are the masters of our fate. That the task which has been set us is not above our strength, that its pangs and toils are not beyond our endurance. As long as we have faith in our cause and an unconquerable willpower, salvation will not be denied us.
Let us therefore brace ourselves to our duty. Victory at all costs.
Here in Ford Nation, I'm hoping the Ontario Premier will give his head a shake, see the light, and maybe even listen to his daughter's viral Instagram video. That way, we can take a more inclusive approach to dealing with COVID-19. Many Canadians do not yet trust the science behind the syringe. Therefore, forced vaccinations that disregard informed consent and invade privacy go against our sacred democracy. And Justin Trudeau agrees with me, apparently.
It is the provinces, as the deliverers of medical services, who have the information on citizens as to who is vaccinated, who is not, and with how many doses of what. The federal government doesn't have that information, and quite frankly, for privacy reasons, are happy to not have that information.
As a business owner or employee, you have a choice of whether you're going to participate in segregation and discrimination. Hiding behind the veil of keeping everyone safe, you're excluding hard-working and well-meaning people from participating in commerce. If after seeing this video you still choose to enforce overreaching mandates and pointless policies, well, it might be time for those people to serve you instead with a booster shot of litigation.
You go to court, you go to trial, and you slug it out.
And when it comes to Xanadu Health Club, I'm hoping that they'll positively respond to my plea and allow me to work out in my gym once again.
In Windsor for the Rendezvous, I'm James Green.